What's up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Had a pretty good divisional weekend, so we are on to the final four. The Ravens, Chiefs, 49ers, and Lions won 3 matchups, and also Northwest matchups as well as both the AFC and NFC championships feature teams from the AFC North, the AFC and NFC North and West divisions. Chiefs from the AFC West, Ravens in the AFC North, 49ers the NFC West, Lions in the NFC North. So let's get to the games here. Ravens, 34-10 blowout over the Texans in Baltimore. 10-10 at halftime. Should have been 13-10. Texans, kind of wonder how different it would have been with the Texans having a lead at halftime. Not sure it would have mattered really. Texans offense struggled mightily throughout the day. They could not run the ball at all. And C.J. Stroud in the passing game was held in check quite nicely by the Ravens defense. C.J. Stroud there, 19 of 33, 57.6%, 175. Lamar Jackson, 16 of 22, 72.7%, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, 100 yards, and 2 scores on the ground. 4 touchdown day for Jackson. 100-yard performance. I believe he has the most 100-yard rushing playoff games in league history now. I'm not totally sure, but I think so. Justice Hill was your leading back outside of Jackson. 13 carries, 66 yards, 2 catches for 11 yards. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins led the game in receiving, 5 for 68 on 10 targets. And defensively, I'm going to go with Texans corner Desmond King II, 5 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and QB hit. And then, of course, Steven Sims, wide receiver for the Texans, the only guy to score a touchdown for Houston on the day, 67-yard punt return for a touchdown. Ravens, minus 9.5, covered easily, over 43.5 by the hook. The other game on Saturday, the 49ers squeaking by the Packers 24-21. This one was tough. The Packers had a 21-14 lead going into the fourth quarter. Kyle Shanahan was 0-30 when down by 5 or more. Heading into the fourth quarter. So, yeah, it's tough. 1-30 now. The Packers get the 1. LaFleur now 0-3 in the playoffs against Kyle Shanahan. And the Pack lose once again to San Francisco. But bright future for the Packers. They looked excellent. We're never supposed to be this far into the playoffs this year with all the youth on their team. So it sets up well for them next year and the years going forward. Brock Purdy, 23 of 39, 59%, 252, 1 touchdown, 6 carries for 14 yards. Jordan Love, 21 of 34, 61.8%, 194, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. The game-ending one was horrendous. Jordan Love, you cannot throw the ball late across your body to the middle of the field. It's just not going to work ever. What he needed to do was throw the ball away, live to fight another down, because the ball, like I said, not a great throw, and it was short. It was probably 5 yards short of his intended receiver anyways. So, yeah, I mean, Jordan's going to go from that one, and we'll see the Packers, what they can do next year. Aaron Jones, 100-yard game once again for him, back-to-back in the playoffs. 18 carries, 108 yards, 3 catches for 8 yards on 6 targets. Christian McCaffrey, 2-touchdown night for him. 17 carries, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions for 30 yards on 12 targets. Big workload for McCaffrey. Romeo Doubs led the game in receiving, 4 for 83 on 6 targets. And defensively, I got to go with 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw, the guy that sealed the games. 8 tackles, 6 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. Packers plus 10.5, covered easily, under 50.5. Yesterday, the Lions 31-23 over the Buccaneers. And congrats to Detroit. I got my Honolulu blue on. Got the blue background there as well. And Lions to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1992. Really excited. This is literally the only team I'm rooting for left in the playoffs, so I hope the Lions go and win it all. Dan Campbell has these guys believing. The defense is playing pretty well, and the offense, of course, is making it work. Baker Mayfield, quite a way to go out. 26 of 41, 63.4%, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 2 carries for 15 yards. Baker back-to-back playoff games, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. However, this game, unlike the Eagles game, 2 turnovers for him. The Lions, quarterback Jared Goff, 30 of 43, 69.8%, 287, 2 touchdowns. Excellent again for Jared Goff, no turnovers. They really had to throw the ball a lot more than normal. They weren't really getting a lot in the running game for most of the night, but they did get a big rip from the leading rusher in the game, Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 carries, 74 yards, touchdown, 4 catches for 40 yards. Nice game for him. Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans went pretty crazy in this one, despite the loss. 8 receptions, 147 yards, touchdown on 12 targets, and possibly his last game in Tampa as he is a free agent. Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown and tight end Sam Laporta, they both had double-digit target days as well. St. Brown, 8 for 77, a touchdown on 14 targets. Laporta, 9 for 65 on 11 targets. And defensively, I'm going to go with Lions safety Ifeatu Melifonwu. 9 tackles, 6 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 QB hits. Aiden Hutchinson, a close second, though, as he is on a tear. 8 sacks, I believe, in his last 4 games. Lions minus 6.5 covered, over a 49.5, 54. And finally, the Chiefs beating the Bills in Buffalo, 27-24. The only road team to win this weekend. Yeah, I mean, wide right again for Buffalo. It stings. The Bills were the only team left in the AFC that I was rooting for. I'm going to just hate myself having to watch the freaking Ravens and Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, but whatever. Patrick Mahomes, 17-23, 73.9%, 215, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries for 19 yards. Josh Allen, 26 of 39, 66.7%. 186 yards, a touchdown, 12 carries, 72 yards, 2 rushing scores. It's disappointing. I had Josh Allen passing yards over. It was like 245.5. Bro, like you completed 26. Like Mahomes completed 17. He had 215 yards. Like 26, and you get 186 out of that. That's ridiculous on Josh Allen's part. The drops on the explosive plays, 0 for 3 on deep throws there. Trent Sherfield dropping 2. Stephon Diggs dropping 1. And that's it. Like Stephon Diggs, I saw a stat of his last 10 games of the season, including the playoffs. It's not good. It really was not good. Like, I don't know what the defense is. I don't know if it was the defenses that were doing things to Stephon Diggs that he could just not find any room open, or if it was Stephon Diggs that for some reason his play just dropped off a cliff. I mean, he had one game that was decent, which I think it was a 7-catch, 87-yard game against the Dolphins, I think it might have been, or maybe it was week 17. But regardless, I mean, that was a big thing going down the stretch for Buffalo, continued into the playoffs. Stephon Diggs not living up to his number 1 wide receiver status. So that's something to look at going forward for Buffalo. Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco, just short of 115 carries, 97 yards, a touchdown, 1 catch for 14 yards. Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce led game in receiving, 5 for 75 and 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. And then defensively, there were not a lot of stats. I'm going to go with Chiefs safety Justin Reed, 11 tackles, 8 of them solos, 1 tackle for loss and QB hit. Chiefs plus 2.5, win outright over 45.5. The only underdog to win outright, as well as being the only road team to win. College football news, coaching carousel. San Jose State has their new head coach. They hired UCLA tight ends coach, former Navy head coach Ken Niumatalolo as their new head man. Spartan's getting a very experienced guy. It'll be interesting to watch the offense that he runs because obviously Navy known for their triple option, as are all the military academies. But that's not what San Jose State is currently. Currently, San Jose State is a spread offense. And as under Brent Brennan, as he moved on to be the Arizona head coach, so we'll have to wait and see what the Spartans look like this fall. Buffalo also has their new head coach. They hired a assistant head coach and special teams coordinator Pete Lambeau as their new head coach. Pete Lambeau was with South Carolina, where he was the special teams coordinator there. So interesting hire for the Bulls. But we've seen special teams coordinators do it before with John Harbaugh specifically, and in the Ravens, he's the most notable one. There was another one as well that I cannot recall who it was recently. But anyways, yeah, Buffalo gets their new head coach. Transfer portal, Alabama safety Caleb Downs. He has committed to Ohio State, going from one team I hate to another team I hate, which is fantastic. Thank you, Caleb Downs, for not committing to Georgia. We didn't want your Alabama prowess there anyways. Alabama left tackle Caden Proctor. He has committed to Iowa. So congrats to our guy Colin Schultz and his Hawkeyes. Excellent left tackle. Those two key losses for the Crimson Tide on offense and defense. They did get a guy back on offense, though. Washington wide receiver Jeremy Bernard has committed to Alabama, also former Michigan guy as well. But there's a receiver for Jalen Milroe to throw to next season. San Jose State running back Quali Conley. He is in the portal, ran for over 800 yards this past season for the Spartans. Pretty solid back there. Texas State quarterback TJ Finley. He is committed to Western Kentucky. So that is a big one for the Hilltoppers in the portal. TJ Finley finished 10th nationally or 18th nationally in passing yards and has quietly turned himself into a really solid quarterback after starting his career at Auburn. Great season under DJ Kinney at Texas State. Now heading to Western Kentucky in another offense that is explosive as it gets, replacing the now departed Austin Reed, who is going to the draft. And some non-transfer portal news. Arizona quarterback Noah Fafita and wide receiver Tetsuroa McMillan, they are returning to Arizona. They will not be transferring. They want to run it back with the Wildcats under new head coach Brent Brennan. And I was kind of surprised about that. I really wanted to see Noah Fafita continue in the Jedfish offense and continue his development. I'm hoping that it doesn't hurt his development switching systems. Now, they're both kind of similar, Fish's and Brennan's, but obviously different coaches do different things. So hopefully it doesn't hurt his development, but really excited to see Fafita and McMillan run it back for the Wildcats in 24. UFL news, free agency. Some re-signings to start here. The Michigan Panthers, they re-signed wide receiver Trey Quinn and quarterback E.J. Perry, two big pieces on offense, going to help Michigan this season. The Brahmas, they re-signed tight end Alize Mack and long snapper Rex Sunahara. Battlehawks, they re-signed wide receiver Marcel Aitman. The Stallions in free agency, signing Falcons defensive tackle Carlos Davis, Michigan Panthers Carolina Panthers offensive lineman Deontay Brown, Maulers defensive back Mark Gilbert, and running back Larry Roundtree III. It played for the Chargers in 2022 with the Texans last year, though. The Roughnecks, they signed Lions tight end Derek Deese Jr. and former Bears running back Ryan Nall. The Brahmas signed Texans kicker Matt Amendola, former Raiders quarterback Chase Garbers, Roughnecks wide receiver John Trey Kirkland, former Broncos defensive back Darius Phillips, and Vikings offensive lineman Jared Williams. NFL news, coaching carousel, the Eagles have made a move. They have fired defensive coordinator Sean Desai after he got demoted, lost his play calling duties to Matt Patricia. Senior defensive assistant Matt Patricia is not under contract for next season, and he is going to be exploring other options, a top DC candidate around the league. The Eagles did start conducting their defensive coordinator interviews, starting with pretty big name, former Commanders head coach Ron Rivera. Last was a defensive coordinator with the Chargers in 2010 and led the NFL in total defense there. So I would be very excited for Ron Rivera to come to Philadelphia. Really solid guy, and get our defense back on track. The Falcons, for their head coaching job, they're interviewing former Titans head coach Mike Vrabel, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, and Bills interim offensive coordinator Joe Brady. Seahawks and the Chargers, they are also both interviewing Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. Titans interviewing former Stanford head coach David Shaw. And for the Patriots offensive coordinator position under new head coach Gerard Mayo, they are interviewing Rams tight end coach Nick Caley. Interviewed for a couple OC spots last year. See if he can land one and get a promotion. Make another Sean McVay assistant go forth and blossom. The Bears, they have found their OC. They hired Seahawks offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. And the Jags have found their defensive coordinator, hiring Falcons defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen. In other news, UCLA head coach Chip Kelly, he is receiving interest for offensive coordinator jobs in the NFL. We'll see if he takes any of those opportunities or not. Depends, or decides to stay at UCLA. And then the Browns, they hired Alabama offensive coordinator Tommy Rees as an offensive assistant. GM carousel, the Panthers. Got my Panthers hat on. It's a great day to be a Panther. They have hired their new GM, promoting assistant general manager Dan Morgan as the new GM and president of football operations. Excellent candidate, has been with the organization since 2021, assistant GM since 2021, has worked with the Seahawks and I believe the Chargers in the past as well. Excellent player. He was one of the best linebackers of my childhood with Carolina, 7 seasons there and 10th in franchise history in total tackles. Super hyped. He was sitting in on some of the coaching interviews, apparently, even before he was named GM. So I'm excited to see what he can do and see if this means Carolina is getting closer to their head coach selection. Chargers, they are interviewing an interesting candidate for their GM spot, NFL Chief of Football Administrative Officer Dawn Aponte. Now, she has been in a couple different front offices throughout her time in the NFL, as well as leading multiple investigations into some of the bigger cheating scandals, such as, I believe, Bountygate. She was a part of that. Definitely Deflategate with Tom Brady and the Patriots. So it'll be interesting to see her name in with the Chargers there. Injuries for the 4 playoff teams left. The 49ers wide receiver Deebo Samuel. He has a shoulder injury, the same shoulder injury that he had a hairline fracture in earlier in the year, made him miss 3 games. May keep him out this week. Not sure yet, though. Obviously, it's the beginning of the week. Chiefs guard Joe Tooney. He has a pec strain, so we'll monitor his status as well throughout the week. And the Lions center Frank Ragnow, he has a sprained knee and ankle. I am not sure if they're on the same leg. I think they are. But to my knowledge, Ragnow is the type of guy that he's close enough, he'll go. And that's exactly what Dan Campbell said about him today. If you think you can give us your best at 80%, then by all means, go ahead and get and play. And for the Lions, they signed an interesting guy this week. The Lions have signed Cardinals tight end Zach Ertz to their practice squad, most likely elevating him for the NFC Championship game. Super excited for Zach Ertz to have this opportunity to go get a second Super Bowl ring. And all the best to the Ertz family in Detroit for the last couple of weeks of the season here. And the Bills, they have signed Colts wide receiver KJ Hamler to a reserve futures deal. See if he can stick in Buffalo next season. And that is a show for today. Really short show, just myself. Hopefully, throughout the next couple weeks on the Mondays, we will get my good guy Ben Ratty on here, and we'll get these Monday shows more popping than you just happen to listen to me drown on about the teams I hate and whatnot. But thank y'all for watching. Next week, we will be talking Senior Bowl and Pro Bowl. It is the week off pretty much for the NFL, as they had the week in between the Super Bowl and conference championship games. So we'll talk in Senior Bowl, get some of the practices in, and then we'll talk about that more next Friday. But of course, we'll get your game recaps for the conference championship games, as well as all the college football, NFL news, UFL news as well. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok at Football Addicts Anon. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all back on Football Friday.